dear kids, how are you all? I hope you all are doing good. So today we are going to study about a control and a coordination. So in this chapter we will be discussing about a brain, spinal cord, muscles, hormones and everything. I know many students are suffering with many kind of topics related to control and coordination, and you will be having a doubts related to it. So in this class we will be discussing everything about it. But without wasting time, we will get into the chapter. Hello my dear kids, listen. So for Diksha Vedantu for class 10th, so we are all starting classes in English, especially our main subjects, mathematics, science, English and Hindi as a subject. So I know many students are struggling in a subjects wise and for the board exams as well as. To secure your marks more than 95% and above, and this is a right place to start. So for the more videos and more classes, please subscribe our channel so that you can get all the classes in English. Okay, without wasting our time, let's start our chapter, the control and coordination. So what we are learning today, my dear kids? So today we are going to study about human nervous system and human endocrine systems and their hormones, and plants movement and their hormones we are going to study in plants as well as, and in between we are going to discuss about MCQ so that our concepts will be very much clear. Okay, yeah, we will start here. Okay, so my dear kids, so in control and coordination there are two major parts. One is nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so we will discuss one by one. So in human nervous system, so in human nervous system, okay, I think you are able to see this, right? Yeah, let me change the color. Okay, so in human nervous system, so it includes central nervous system, which is also we can write CNS, and peripheral nervous system, PNS. So central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Okay, in central nervous system there are two. One is brain and spinal cord. So this is the brain. Are you are able to see, right? Yeah. So this is the brain and this is the spinal cord. Okay. So we will be studying deeply about brain and spinal cord in the next. And peripheral nervous system, it actually deals with the nerves. Okay. So in nerves we will be studying two different cranial nerves as well as spinal nerves. Okay, in cranial nerves, what are cranial nerves? The cranial nerves are nothing but which are associated with cranium, which are associated with cranium as well as brain, we can say. So that we call it as cranial nerves, and which are associated with, okay, yeah. So what is spinal nerves? Okay. So which are associated with spinal cord, which are associated with the spinal cord. So that kind of nerves we call as spinal nerves. So in cranial nerves we will be having 12 pairs of nerves, okay, and 31 pairs of nerves. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yeah. So guys, I'll be telling you once more. See, in peripheral nervous system, which is associated with the nerves, so in the PNS you will be having a cranial nerves as well as spinal nerves. So in a cranial nerves you will be having 12 pairs of nerves, so which is associated with the brain, and spinal nerves which is associated with spinal cord. Okay, these are all associated with the spinal cord. What you are seeing here, that is called spinal cord, and these are the nerves which is associated with spinal cord, and the nerves which is also associated with the brain. Okay. Yes. So I hope you guys are clear about it. Yeah. So many students are confused with the spinal cord and vertebral column. Let me explain you how it is. Spinal cord okay. So I'm going to draw our brain. I know you people also have a brain. I don't mean that you have a brain, but somewhere in the knees or something, right? Yeah. Okay. So brain, okay, which is associated, which is long tube-like structure. We call it as a spinal cord. Okay. So this is our brain, guys. Yeah. So when you see the brain, okay, so this is our brain, okay, inside you can see all the parts and which is attached to the brain, that is called spinal cord. So many students have a doubt here, ma'am, vertebral column and the spinal column are both are same or whether it is a different? Yes. So my dear kids, listen. So spinal cord is different and vertebral column is different. So what is spinal cord? Spinal cord is nothing but which is attached to the main part of the brain. Okay, this is a spinal cord. Okay, so just observe the diagram. This is called vertebral column. Okay, so my dear kids, vertebral column, it is also called as backbone. You know, right? Usually, many people say my back is paining. Okay, even if the some people like you have seen your parents after coming from the work, what they do, they go and sit on the sofa, they chill because they will be having a back pain. So the back pain which is coming from the spinal cord, okay. So this is a vertebral column. So this is a backbone, which is also called as backbone. So actually vertebral column is a structure, it is a bone like a structure which is covering the spinal cord. So which is vertebral column is different and spinal cord is different. Spinal cord is very sensitive part, so that vertebral column will protect it. Okay, so how many vertebral column bones are there? There are 33 bones are there. How many bones? 33 bones are there in backbone or vertebral column, so which is protecting the spinal cord. I hope you are understanding. Yes. So this is a spinal cord. Okay, and this is so like you can see here, right? So this kind of bones are 33 bones. You can see 33 bones are there. Okay, and which is protecting the spinal cord. It's very much mandatory. So if the spinal cord is broken or if you get any damage, so many people will be having a kind of, they'll not be able to walk, they'll be in a wheelchair. You have seen many people like this, some movies you have seen your grandpa, grandparents, so like that. So like this, guys, this is the difference between a spinal cord and vertebral column. So we'll move on to the next. So these are the key terms to understand the nerve system. Okay, so without this you'll not be able to understand anything in this chapter. So let's go by one. So one is a stimulus. Okay, so stimulus. So I'll give an example. Okay, my dear kids, so listen. So you went to home and you will be having a dining table. On the dining table you will be having a hot glass. Okay, on the hot glass, what you do, you will be not knowing whether it is hot or not. So you will go and touch. The reaction you will be getting, oh my god, it's very hot, right? Yeah, exactly. So the sense what you're feeling, that hot, painness, hotness, that is called as a sense. So for example, this is a glass. Okay, oh yeah, okay, this is a glass, it's very hot. So hot is what? Sense. Sense. So the sense which you are feeling, that is called as a stimulus. Okay, hot is nothing which you are feeling, that is a stimulus. And so when you see the things, okay, something which is very gorgeous, okay, when this comes to your mind, it will be triggered and you will be like focusing on the same thing. So whatever the thing which you observe in the changes in the environment, so we call it as what is that? Stimulus. Okay, I hope you understand. So hot is a stimulus here. So whatever the sense you are feeling, that is called as a stimulus. Okay, yeah. So any change in the environment inside or outside the body that triggers the reaction in the organism. Same thing, I told you, that triggers the inside the organism. Oh my god, it's very hot. Exactly, right? Yeah. So coming to the next, receptors. Okay. So my dear kids, what are receptors? See, I can give receptors are the kind of organs. It might be a sense organs. One is eye and one more ear, nose, tongue, and these are the receptors. So now you already touched the hot one, hot glass. So you already felt the sense. You felt the sense. Okay. Next, what happens here? After felt the sense, so these are the receptors. Skin is also a receptor. So thermoreceptor, I will be discussing it later. So this is skin. Okay. So in the skin, what you are feeling? These are the receptor which carries the information. Okay. So skin is also a kind of receptor. Okay. And eye and ear, nose and tongue. So these are all common receptors. Okay, I hope you guys understood. So what are receptors? Special cells in the sense organs like skin, eye, that detects the stimulus and generate a nerve impulse. Okay, so these are the special cells in the sense organ, some kind of special cells which is in the sense organ like skin or eye, whatever, that detaches a stimulus and generate the nerve impulse. So that is, oh sorry, yeah, like, so what happens there? After the sense, after the stimulus, they generate the impulses from the stimulus and it will pass on to the next. Okay, next we will see the effector. Okay, next what we are going to see, effector. What are effectors? Okay, my dear kids, okay, you have touched the hot water glass, stimulus is reached. Next, receptor, these are the receptor cells. These are called thermoreceptors, which comes to the skin. Okay, so you have touched the hot, you have felt the sense, then it is reaches to the receptors. Then where it goes, ma'am? It is goes to the CNS. Okay, CNS, sorry, it may go to the CNS or spinal cord. So after that, after reaching to that part, then it comes to the, it might be a muscle or hormone. It might be possible. What are effectors? So after completing the two process, it will reach to the certain thing which are they are ready to give the action. Okay, now I have touched this one. Okay, I just took off. I should react to this thing, right? Yeah, so I just took, oh okay, say I'm touching this, the slow motion, just observe, just the slow motion, just observe this, I'm going in a slow motion. So the reaction, where we are getting the reaction from the effector. So what this effector does, a muscle or a gland that receives a nerve impulse and produces a response to the stimulus. Okay, so a muscle or a gland, it might be a muscle or a gland or a hormone, receives a nerve impulse. So this will receive the nerve impulse from the stimulus or receptors. After that, it will go to the spinal cord or CNS, I mean a brain, make the decision and send to the effector. We call this as effector. Then it will reach us to the final response. Okay, finally they will reach to this response. The action performed by the action which is performed by the effector. Okay, which is performed by the effector. Finally the results are out. Okay, and example like muscle or a gland as a result of the stimulus. So the response. Okay, that's the thing. I hope you understand this thing. Stimulus, sense, it detects the sense. After the sense, what happens? It will go to the receptors, then it will go to where? Then it pass on to the CNS or spinal cord, then it will come to the muscle or hormone or glands. Okay, then finally the results will come out. We call it as a response. Okay, yeah. So I hope you understand this. It's very simple: stimulus, receptor, effector, and response. Okay, my dear kids, there is one question I told you we will be discussing here. Okay, a part of the body which responds to the instruction sent from the nerve system. What is this nerve system? Nerve system is nothing but brain and spinal cord. Okay, I told you. So it is called as what? So I told you in the chat. Okay, stimulus. Stimulus. After stimulus, what happens? It goes to the receptor. Then after receptor 2, it will go to the CNS. Then after CNS, it will go to effector. Then response. Okay. Okay. So this is the main thing you have to remember, my dear kids. Okay. So first it will reach as a stimulus receptor, and it will go to the CNS, and then it go to the effector and response. So what is the CNS? The CNS is nothing but brain and spinal cord. So the answer is, you will be able to find very easy. Okay. So after stimulus, what they are saying, the part of the body which responds to the instruction sent from the nerve system. So which is the instruction sent from the nerve system? After nerve system, where it goes? It will go to the where? Effector. Am I right? It will go to the effector. The answer is B. Effector. Okay. Yes. Okay, my dear kids, these are the five basic sensory receptors in humans. Okay. So we know what is phonoreceptors. Phonoreceptors are nothing but which we can hear. Okay. Sometimes you are in class. My teacher says you guys, students, am I audible? I'm audible. You are able to hear my voice. Sometimes even I also say you, I'm audible, like that, right? Same thing. Phonoreceptors comes under ear, which sense bound body balance. Okay. So these are phonoreceptors associated with the ears. Okay. Yeah. Coming to photoreceptors. What are photoreceptors? Which is associated with the eyes. See, you can see eyes, which is, what is this phonoreceptors? Phono means nothing. Sorry, photoreceptor, photo. You can see the photoreceptors, right? Yeah. Olfactory receptors, which is associated with the smell, bad smell, good smell. So who is going to identify whether it's a bad or good? Is known as nose. Our nose, which is called as olfactory receptors. Coming to thermoreceptors, I told you, sense touch, which are able to feel the touch, pain, whatever, which is detected by skin. That is called as thermoreceptors. Okay. Touch, pain, heat, whatever. Okay. Yes. Gustatory receptors, which is associated with the taste. Okay. I mean tongue. Okay. In tongue you will be able to find sweet, salt, sour, bitter, everything. Right. So gustatory receptors comes under the tongue, sense of taste. Okay. So gustatory, thermoreceptors, olfactory receptors, and photoreceptors and phonoreceptors. I hope you guys clear with this sense organs, right? Yeah, we'll move on to the next. Yeah. So my dear kids, listen. So you know, what is neuron? Neuron is a kind of cell. Yeah. So listen here. Brain. You know brain, right? Spinal cord. Yes. So these are associated what? What they are associated with? You know, right? It is associated with nerves. Okay, which are associated with nerves. What is this nerves, ma'am? You told only neuron. What is this nerves? Students, listen. So nerves are total number of neuron collectively form nerves, right? So nerve tissue, we can call it as tissue as well as. You know, right? What is tissue? Group of a number of cells. Okay, group of number of cells, we call it as tissue, just like nerve tissue. So in that we are going to study about a neuron. Okay, so in that we are going to study about a neuron here. Okay, what is neuron? See, my dear kids. Yes. So neuron is a basic and structural function unit of our nerve system. Okay, what is this? It's a specialized cell. Okay, so what is neuron exactly? It is a structural function unit of nerve system, and it is also called as specialized cell. Why it is called as specialized cell, my dear students? Because it carries impulses. What it carries? May carry impulses, messages from one neuron to another neuron. I'll explain you this detailedly. Okay, yeah. So yes, so my dear kids, you know what is nucleus, which is present? Ma'am, we know nucleus, it looks like round. Am I correct? So this is a nucleus, my dear kids, which is present in the living organisms. And you know where it is found? It is found in cytoplasm. Am I right? Yes. Where it is found? It is found in cytoplasm. Yes. Ma'am, it is found in cytoplasm. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, I am going to draw the neuron structure here. So, and you can see the extension of cytoplasm here. You can see the extension of cytoplasm. So my dear kids, this is the cytoplasm. Okay, so inside the cytoplasm you can find a dot like structure. Okay, so these are the dot structure. You will be able to find some cell organelles here, mitochondria and everything, and you will be finding some ions as well as. Okay, yes. So from cytoplasm, the extending part. Okay, from the extending part. So from the from cytoplasm there is extending part. That extending part will end here. Okay, that extending part will be ending over here. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So inside the small dots like structure where you can see mitochondria, like you can see cell organelles here and some ions over here. So what is this we call small dot structures? We call that is called nasal granules. Ma'am, in NCERT it is not mentioned. Why you are teaching this? Students, for the MCQs it's very much important, so that you have to be clear with everything. Okay? Yes. So I told you the extending part from the cytoplasm, which looks like hair kind of structure, right? So this is called as dendrites. Okay, this is dendrites. Okay, dendrites. Yeah, this is called as a dendrites. So my dear kids, these are dendrites. So this is nucleus, you know, right? This is nucleus. Okay. So from ear to ear, from the dendrites, nucleus and nasal granules, totally we call it as cell body or soma. We can call from soma as well as cell body or soma. Okay. So the extending part from the cytoplasm, which looks like a tube like structure, elongated one. So what we call this one? This is called axon. What is this? This is axon. Okay. Axon is covered by, okay, I'll be writing in some other color. Okay. Yeah. So axon is covered by sheath. Covered by what? It is covered by sheath. The sheath name we call it as, sorry, yes, okay. Okay, the sheath which is covered by axon, we call it as myelin sheath. Okay, myelin. Okay, myelin sheath. So inside the myelin sheath, what you are finding out? Inside the myelin sheath, okay, inside the myelin sheath, inside the myelin sheath you will be finding a cells. Okay, these are the cells you will be able to see here, right? Yeah, these are the cells. Okay, so my dear kids, listen. So in between myelin sheath and myelin sheath there is a gap, right? There is a gap. So there is a gap, right? The gap we call it as node of Ranvier. So node of Ranvier. Just remember Ranveer Singh. Ranveer Singh is there, is a film actor. Okay, just you remember like that. I'm giving you tips. Okay, then you will be thankful to me. Yeah. Okay, so the gap between myelin sheath and the myelin sheath, the small space, we call it as node of Ranvier. Yeah. Okay, so axon is done, then it is extending to the end part. We call this as synaptic knob. Okay, this we call it as synaptic knob. Okay, synaptic knob, and this entire part we call it as axon terminal. Axon terminal. Okay, so this small bubble like structure we call it as synaptic knob. Okay, yes. So my dear kids, this is all about the neuron. This is very much important for your board exams. Okay, which is very much important for your board exams. Okay, important. It is very much important for your exams. You have to mention all the labelings here. So nucleus, dendrites, Nissls granules, node of Ranvier, axon, myelin sheath, axon and axon terminal. And my dear kids, listen, if neuron is having a myelin sheath over axon, we call it as myelinated neurons. What we call? Myelinated neurons. Let me write it in red one. Okay, so the neurons which are associated with myelin sheath in axon, we can say on axon. So what we call, that is called myelinated neuron. Okay, so myelinated neuron. So ma'am, you told which is associated with the myelin sheath, we call myelinated neuron. What if myelin sheath is not there? We call it as non-myelinated neurons. That's all. Non-myelin. If it is absence of myelin sheath, we call it as what we are calling, okay, non-myelinated sheath. Non-myelinated sheath. Okay, yes, this all about diagram of the neuron and difference between a myelinated and non-myelinated thing. Okay, I hope you guys are clear about it. Yes, we'll go on to the next. See, I will tell you the little glance about the neuron. So this is the neuron, my dear kids. So inside what you can see, nucleus, and these are the dendrites. What is called, this is the dendrite, and from the extending part, what we call, this is an axon. Okay, where is the axon? Okay, axon, and inside the axon we will be covering part myelin sheath, and inside you can find small dotted like structure we call Schwann cells. Okay, yes, so inside the dot structure, that I told you, the cells which is inside the myelin sheath are called as, these are Schwann cells. Schwann cells. Okay, I forgot to tell you. So these are Schwann cells. Okay, yes. So Schwann cells, the gap between two myelin sheaths, we call it as node of Ranvier, and end of this we can see axon terminal, and this we call it as synaptic knob. Okay, yes, I hope you guys are clear about the neuron structure. Yes, so this is a quick glance about it. So what exactly dendrites do, what exactly cell body, axon terminal, what are synapse, everything. So what they do, what exactly dendrites do, they carry impulse from the other neuron. I will explain you in detail, just we will go with this. So branch like extension that receives incoming signals from other neurons or sends receptors by heat. Okay, so I will tell you this, I will explain you later. Let me go with the exact one. So my dear kids, so how does neuron carries impulse from one neuron to neuron? First, what happens here? These are dendrites, right? So these are dendrites. What does dendrites do? They carry impulse from other neurons. What they do? They carry impulse from other neurons. Okay? They carry impulse from other neurons. Okay? They carry impulse from other neuron. Then what happens? The impulse will get into the cytoplasm. What they do, the impulse will get into the cytoplasm. So how this get into the cytoplasm? Just imagine, I told you the hot water. This hot water glass. So this is a hot water glass. So when you touch, okay, so when you touch this, what happens? Suddenly you will take your hand, like this. So the stimulus, it will send to where? Receptors. Then receptor to where? CNS. CNS to where? Effector. Effector response. So this is the cycle. So immediately after the stimulus, from stimulus, what they are getting? From stimulus, what they are getting? They are getting a signals. Okay. From stimulus, what they are getting? They are getting us signals. So the signals we call it as electrical signals. Electrical signals. Electrical signals. Okay, what they are getting? They are getting electrical signals. So these signals will get into the cytoplasm of neuron. In cytoplasm, you will be finding different ions. Potassium ions, sodium ions. Okay. So what happens to this line? They'll start moving like this. They start moving. They'll be like, oh, something is happening inside us. So just when they start coming the stimulus from the other neurons, what happens here? The ions will start moving here. Okay. So immediately after that, the movement starts here. You know the movement of ions in physics you have studied, right? So after the movement of ions, then it will reach to the part, the long tube like structure. We call it as axon. So it pass on to where? Axon. The signals from the dendrites, from the cytoplasm, then it will reaches to the, cytoplasm means cell body. inside the cell body. Okay, so so dendrites to where it passes to the cell body, then to axon. The chemical signals are passing on to the axon, then it will reaches to the axon terminal. Just like one platform. So all the passengers are coming to the one kind of terminal, bus terminal, okay, and station one, just like that. So all the electrical signals are passing on to the end, we call it as axon terminal. At the end, okay, at the end, what is this? I told you this is a synaptic knob. Synaptic knob. So I'll be overviewing here. Okay. So inside the synaptic knob, you will be finding a chemicals here. Okay. So electrical signal is coming here. Electrical signal. Okay. So electrical signal is coming here. So after coming electrical signal to the synaptic knob, what happens here? They change to the chemical signals. They change to chemical signals. So they convert, electrical signals are converted to the chemical signals. Okay, this is how the mechanism is happening here. Later the chemical signals pass on to the another neuron. Okay, another neuron, where is that? Yes, they pass on to the another neuron. Okay, yeah, this is the mechanism of the how the dendrites carries impulse from the other neuron. So what they do first, they carry the impulse from the stimulus. Okay, they carry the impulse from the stimulus and reaches to the dendrites, and in the dendrites, what kind of chemical you will be finding? Electrical signals, and later it pass on to the cell body, then it comes to the axon, then later it will reaches to the axon terminal. And the end, what happens to, what will happen in a synaptic knob? They get converted to chemical signals. Am I right? Then they will pass on to the next neuron. Okay, this is a mechanism of how neurons passes signals from one neuron to another neuron. I hope you guys are clear about it, right? Yes. So this is how I told you the gap between dendrites and axon terminal, we call it as synapse. Sorry. Yes. So this is a synapse. So the gap between dendrites and axon terminal, we call it as synapse. Okay, where the chemical signals will get exchanged here. I mean, chemical means neurotransmitter. Okay, yes, this is what the exchanges of signals from one neuron to another neuron. Okay, I hope you guys are clear about this topic. I'll move on to the next topic. Okay, this is synapse, the gap between one neuron to another neuron, where the chemical thing will be exchanging here. So you know what, the chemicals which is passing from one neuron to another neuron, this is called as a nerve impulse. The wave of exchanging of chemicals from electrical to from chemical. This kind of movements, this kind of exchange, this kind of message, this kind of signal moving on to one neuron to another neuron, we call it as nerve impulse. What we call nerve impulse. Okay, we call it as nerve impulse. I will just glance over it. Yes, the nerve impulse is an electrical chemical changes called an action potential, and that travels along the member of the neuron is responses to the stimulus. I told you, the wave across the neuron which changes into electrical and chemical, which changes electrical and chemical. So that wave, the impulse which are changing, that particular thing we call it as nerve impulse. It is generated when ions like sodium, potassium move in, okay, and out of the neuron, reversing the electrical changes across the membrane and the rest of resting state. I explained you this concept, right? It's very simple, my dear kids. No need to be worry much about it. Just to remember this, nerve impulse is nothing but these are the waves. The waves of the impulse which are passing over the axon or whatever the parts of the neuron, which are changing electrical signals into a chemical signals. That's all. Yes. I hope you guys are clear about this topic. So now we are going to study about neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. We can call it as shortly NMJ. NMJ, neuromuscular junction. Okay, my dear kids, listen. So these are the neurons. Okay, these are the neurons. Okay, these are the neurons. So at a particular stage, the neuron signals will be passed out. Okay, so it might be a muscle, it might be a hormone, it might be a glands. Okay, so the signals, the neurotransmitter, it is a point of contact. Okay, what is that? Let me erase this. Okay. So it is a point oh shit, my dear kids. So it is a point. It is a point of contact. It is a point of contact between contact between motor neurons and muscles. Okay, ma'am, what is this motor neuron? You didn't explain about it. I will explain you, my dear kids. For the time being, I will tell you what is this motor neuron. See, motor neurons are nothing but what is it? Effector. I'll tell you that in detail, but for these are the things. Okay. So, my dear kids, cerebrum involves in thinking, plans, and creative things. Okay, that's exactly the function of this. And you know what? Thalamus and hypothalamus, we collaboratively call it as diencephalon. Okay, so what exactly thalamus do, what exactly hypothalamus do, we will be studying further. For the time being, just adjust with this thing. Okay, I hope you guys this understood. If you have any doubts in this, so you know what is so we have a brain. The brain is divided into left hemisphere and right hemisphere. So the left hemisphere, which is connecting to the right hemisphere, called as diencephalon, and it is also collaboratively call it as diencephalon for the hypothalamus and the thalamus. Okay, the connection will be there, right? And cerebrum involved in thinking, plans, and creative kind of things. Okay, yeah. So I told you this is called corpus callosum. This region. So this region we call it as corpus callosum. Yeah. So the brain and the spinal cord constitute the central nervous system, CNS. They receive information from the parts of the body and integrate it. I already explained about it. Brain is protected. Okay, this I will be explaining you later. Okay. Yeah. So this is a corpus callosum. You can see here. Corpus callosum. And this is the thalamus. Thalamus below you can see. Hypothalamus. Where is hypothalamus? Somewhere here you will be getting hypothalamus. Okay. So later pituitary gland and pons, medulla oblongata, and spinal cord and fluid filled balloon. We call it as cranial fluid. I will be discussing it later. So now we are going to study about we already completed with the forebrain, and now we are coming to midbrain. Okay, so midbrain. So in midbrain, so there are many parts are involved here. So midbrain, what exactly do the midbrain? So what they do, they are responsible for the sense or visual things. Okay, visual things. So these are involved in the midbrains, are involved in the visual things, capturing and memorizing it. Okay, this is the exact function of the midbrain. So this very smallest part, so we will not go into the detail here. Okay, these things you will be studying everything in detail in the further classes, higher classes. Okay, so we will discuss about hindbrain now. Okay, so what exactly this hindbrain? So in hindbrain, I already discussed about it, right? So in hindbrain you will be finding it cerebellum, cerebrum is different and cerebellum is different. Okay, so we'll be studying about the cerebellum. So cerebellum is nothing but this one. Okay, this region we call it as cerebellum, and pons and medulla oblongata. Can also call it as medulla. So this is a medulla oblongata. Okay, and this is pons. So ma'am, what exactly does cerebrum do? So my dear kids, listen. So cerebrum involves in balancing of your body. So what it involves? It involves in balancing your body, and whenever you do some kind of swimming or water skates, you walk. So when you walk anywhere, like whenever you're drunk, not you, like people who drink. Okay, so they used to balance the body. So who is helping to balance the body? Cerebellum is helping the balancing the body. Okay, that's the main role of the cerebellum. And coming to the pons, so what exactly the pons do? So pons involved in breathing. So whenever you breathe, it's involved here. Breathing involving here. And medulla, what medulla is doing? So medulla will be involving in sleep cycle. So whenever you sleep, who is going to wake up you? Medulla. Oh, get up. Now you want to wake up. Okay, sleep things, sneezing, and whatever the more activities. Okay, sneezing. Okay, sneezing, sleeping, and everything which is doing, medulla is involving here. So cerebellum is helping the balancing of the body, and pons is helping the breathing and respiring and everything. Okay, medulla is helping sleep wake cycle, sneezing, and normal things. Okay, yeah. So coming to the next. Okay, so it'll be, I told you, right, we are going to discuss the main midbrain. So in midbrain, what exactly is happening, I already told you. So it is involved in, there are involuntary actions in between a simple reflex action, and throughout the action we do not have a thinking control on them. Example, salivation, heartbeat, etc. They are controlled by midbrain and hindbrain. So they are talking about a hindbrain here, even they are mentioning it and midbrain as well as, but it's actually involved in a visual thing. So when you are suddenly the reflex happens here, what happens? Your eye will blink, right? Your eyes will blink just like this. Exactly. So these are the things which are involved, which is controlling by the midbrain and hindbrain. In a medulla, I told you, in medulla it is hindbrain controls involuntary actions such as blood pressure. So even it is involving in a blood pressure, involuntary action, and salivation and vomiting. You will be vomiting like that, right? So vomiting as well as, and cerebellum. In cerebellum and hindbrain controls voluntary actions. Voluntary. So your balancing your body is called as what? It's a voluntary, that if you want to walk, it's voluntary. If you want to swim, you can swim. If you want to jump, you can jump. And balancing is the main part, right? So voluntary actions like walking, riding, bicycle, picking up and pencil, writing, it also maintains the posture and balance of the body. I'm right? Yes. Okay, I hope you are clear about this topic, midbrain, hindbrain and forebrain, right? Yes. So this is the main parts. You can see, you can label this part. What is this? You have to see, this is the homework I am giving you. You have to mention the parts. What is this and what exactly is this, and it's already done. So what is the parts of this name, which is the largest part of our brain, which is the smallest part of our brain, and which is the thing which is present below the midbrain. You have to mention and you have to comment it below, so that I can see whether you have okay with my concepts or not, you are able to understand or not. Okay, yeah. So coming to the question, the voluntary action and the posture and the balance of the body are controlled by whom? So my dear kids, I already explained you balancing of your body. Who is involving here? Cerebellum. See, I will give you a keyword here. See, cerebellum. B, okay, B, cerebellum. The word bellum is called as balance. Remember like this, cerebellum. Okay, so it's involved in what? Balance and posture of your body. The answer is C. Okay. So my dear kids, so we know everything. Okay, inside we have found a forebrain, hindbrain, midbrain and everything. Ma'am, everything is fine. Okay, so who is going to protect that one which is involved here, right? So there are many neurons involved here. So okay, so this is our entire thing of our skull. So what is this? This is our skull. So this is our skull, my dear kids. So this is skull. Okay, so in skull we will be finding cranial bones. Okay, cranial bones and spinal bones. We can call it as what? Vertebral column as well as. So vertebral column. Okay, yes. So my dear kids, so what, where exactly, so our brain is protected by which bone? From ear to ear. Okay, this is called cranial bone. What is this? This is a cranial bone which is protecting our brain, just like a box. It is also called as box. Brain box. It's also called as brain box, which protect our brain. Okay, so the cranial bone which protects our brain from the which protects our brain. Okay, that's the thing. So coming to the vertebral column. So inside the vertebral column, what we can see? Spinal cord, right? So inside the vertebral column we can find a spinal cord. So it is going to protect our spinal cord with the help of the bones. Which bones? Vertebral column. Okay, so there are certain spinal bones which is helping the spinal cord to protect itself. So how many spinal bones are there? 33, my dear kids. Yeah. Okay, so this is all about how our brain and spinal cord is protected with the help of this cranial bones and spinal bones. Okay, this exactly. And coming to the next, I already yeah, wait. Yes. So the spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. We also call it as backbone. Okay, and brain is the main coordinating center of the body. I already explained you, and it is involves in more complex mechanism and neural connection for the complex process such as thinking. Okay, yes. So spinal cord is spinal cord which contain nerves which is supply information to the think about. Okay, so this is exactly the function of this cranial nerves as well as a spinal cord which protects which is going to protect, right? So this is a spinal cord and it is covered by spinal bones, and it is also called as backbone as well as vertebral column. Okay, So my dear kids, this is the last part of our brain we are going to study. Okay, so this is our brain. So our brain is protected with three main layers. Okay, so this is the brain. There is one more layer. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is cranial bone. This is a cranial bone, and this three major layers. Okay, this three major layers we call it as mimics, cranial mimics. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what we call cranial mimics. Cranial meninges. So these three layers we call as meninges, cranial meninges, and in cranial meninges we will be finding first layer, second layer and third layer. We will be discussing about this. Okay, so what exactly the first and second and third? Okay, so first we call it as arachnoid matter. Second one, I'll mentioning here, I'll be writing over here. First one, dura matter. Arachnoid matter. And pia matter. So these are the main. You can remember like DAP, shortcut DAP. Okay, dura matter, arachnoid matter, pia matter. These are the three main layers which is protecting the brain from any other injuries or whatever the accidents happens. Okay, yeah. So from this mimics are continuing to the spinal cords. See, are continuing to the spinal cord, and even it is continuing to the main part. Okay, these are, okay, this is a spinal cord. Okay, this is spinal cord and this is vertebral column. So this is spinal column inside and this vertebral column which is protected by the mimics, spinal mimics. Yeah. So my dear kids, yeah. So there is a certain fluid filled with the fluid which is filled inside this mimics. Okay, the fluid which is filled with the mimics. The fluid which is filled. So this is a fluid, my dear kids. This fluid we call it as cranial fluid. What we call? This fluid we call it as cranial fluid. So this fluid we call it as cranial fluid. Okay, and so here you go. Okay. think I should change the color, I think. Okay, yes. So this is yes. So my dear kids, the spinal cord, the spinal mimics, which is filled with a fluid. I am not able to show you this. I will be showing the white color. Okay, so there are certain fluid which is filled in a spinal cord as well as, so this kind of, not able to show this. Okay, I will be showing you. Okay, so in spinal cord, it is in spinal cord you can see a fluid which is also called as spinal fluid. Okay, so these are the main important things that you have to remember. Okay, spinal fluid, so which is also protecting from the some accidents or some shocks, whatever. Okay, yeah, so let me explain you in a deeply. So our brain is mainly protected with which kind of bone? Cranial bone, right? Which kind of bone? Cranial bone. And inside the cranial bone you will be seeing three major parts, three major layers. One is dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. Okay, it is also you can remember as DAP. Okay, and inside the cranial, inside the dura mater, pia mater, there is a fluid which is filled inside the cranium, which is called as cranial fluid. And this the layers which is also contained to the spinal cord, which is also filled with a fluid called as spinal fluid, and which is also protected with the spinal cord as well as. So these are all about how our brain is protected and how it is covered with and how it is protected from the accident and some shocks, whatever. So this is all about the brain today, my dear kids. So my dear kids, here is a slight change. I told you our cranium is protected with the three layers, dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater, and it is filled with a fluid, we call it as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, how it is filled? It is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. It is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. So how this cerebrospinal fluid is splitting over till down, till the spinal cord, it is filled with the fluid. Okay. From where? From the three layers to till it is continuous to where? Till the spinal cord. So it is filled with a fluid, we call it as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. I hope you are clear with this. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next, and we are going to discuss about endocrine hormones, our body. Okay. Yeah. So what exactly endocrine system? Yes. So endocrine system. Before studying about endocrine system, we'll talk about hormones. Okay. Ma'am, what is this hormones? See, have you heard about a pigeon? Yes, in olden days what the pigeon used to do, so few people they used to tie a little piece of paper, they have to write some message in that, they used to tie it in the under the foot. Okay, so what they used to do, what pigeons used to do, they carry information, I mean they carry a letter from one place to another place. Same thing, it will be applicable on the hormones. Hormone is nothing but, you imagine it is a pigeon. What the pigeon is to do, they carry a message. As it is, hormones are nothing but they are chemical substances. They are chemical substances, act as messengers. They act as messengers in our body. Understood? So what hormones are? They are the chemical substances and they act as a messenger in our body. Okay. So where these hormones are produced? They are produced in endocrine system. So this is endocrine system, imagine. Okay. So this is endocrine system. So what endocrine system is doing? Endocrine system is secreting hormones. Always you remember, what is the work of endocrine? Endocrine always secrete hormones. Okay. What they are doing? They are secreting hormone into the blood vessels. This is a blood vessel. You have studied in previous chapter. Right. These are the blood vessels. Okay. They are secreting hormones into the blood vessels. Okay. This is the blood vessels. So the hormones which is secreted by endocrine system, which is get into the blood vessels. Okay. So in our body there are two types of, one is endocrine system, one is exocrine system. So we will be studying about exocrine system in the further classes, in higher classes, and for time being we are studying about the endocrine system. What is endocrine? I told you endocrine is nothing but the function that which releases hormones. It only controls only hormones. For example, yes. So we have a pituitary gland, hypothalamus, previously I have explained you, right? So these are all comes under endocrine. Wait, I'll show you. Yes. So what is this? Pineal, pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, hypothalamus and thymus, pancreas, adrenal. These are all endocrine glands and endocrine system. Okay. So these are what they do, what they release hormones. What they do, they release hormone. For example, I will give an example for the exocrine. See, sweat gland. Okay, what the sweat gland do? They release a sweat. What about the sweat glands? So when we talk about exocrine, so for example, salivary gland. Okay. So what salivary gland do? They secrete saliva when we eat food and mix with the food. Right. So when you see a syllabus, oh my God, I have to study this much. So when you will be start crying, it that is also called as exocrine. So these are all comes under exocrine. This is the best examples I can give you. Okay. Yes. So we will be studying each and every part about how pineal is released, how pituitary is released, how thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pancreas, everything we will be studying detailedly one by one. Okay. So now we are going to study about endocrine one by one. Okay. Yes. So first part, hypothalamus. Okay. So what is this hypothalamus? Hypothalamus is also called as control center. Control center, where this hypothalamus is located in the forebrain. You know, I already explained you, I have shown you, right? So what is the function of hypothalamus? So it controls all the functions of our body, my dear kids. So what it controls? Functions all our body functions like temperature and the storage of your memory, etc., etc. So after hypothalamus there is a pituitary gland. Okay, why I am telling this, I will tell you. So there is a pituitary gland. So under the hypothalamus there is a pituitary gland. So what this hypothalamus do exactly means, so this is a hypothalamus and this is a pituitary gland. So hypothalamus releasing hormones. What they release? They releasing hormones. For what they are releasing? Because to stimulate the pituitary gland to secrete hormones. So what this hypothalamus is doing? Hypothalamus is doing what? So this is hypothalamus. Sorry. So this is a hypothalamus. And this is a pituitary gland. So what happens here? Hypothalamus starts secreting a releasing hormone to the pituitary gland. What they are releasing? releasing hormones. For what? To initiate the pituitary gland to release hormones. Okay? To release hormones. They are secreting or releasing hormone into the pituitary gland to secrete the hormones. Okay, fine, ma'am. They are releasing what is that? Hormones to start. Sorry. Okay, everything is fine, ma'am. It's okay. Hypothalamus is releasing hormone. It's secreted on the pituitary gland, so that what they do, they secrete hormones. But how they are going to stop? See, there is a inhibitory hormones. Okay, there is a inhibitory hormones. Inhibitory hormones to stop the hormones. I mean, to stop the releasing, to stop the secretion of hormones. Okay, so this is a function of hypothalamus. What they do? I just simply glance here. So what happens to hypothalamus? They releasing hormones to secrete a what? Hormones to other parts of the body. And later how they will stop? By the inhibiting hormones. Very simple, right? Yeah. So I told you hypothalamus. So stimulate the pituitary gland to release hormones. I already explained about this, right? So for example, growth hormones releases the factors and stimulate the pituitary gland to release the growth hormones. See, what does this pituitary gland do? See, in pituitary gland you will be finding two major parts. Okay, one is anterior pituitary and posterior. So in anterior you will be finding too much excess of hormones are releasing from the anterior pituitary gland compared to posterior. But in anterior you will be finding growth hormone, GH. Okay, so still many hormones are there. You will be studying in higher classes, but for time being in your NCERT they have given a growth hormone. So what does growth hormone do? They control, what they do? They control growth and development of child. So what they do? They control growth and development of child. Okay, so sometimes what happens to the growth hormone? They will be secreting more. Okay, what they are doing? They are secreting more. That means hyper. Hyper means what? Hyper is nothing but excess amount. Sorry, excess amount. So hyper means excess, more. So more growth hormone will be produced. So for that what kind of changes you can see? You will be seeing like you can see too much excess of growth. For example, I'll be telling you. So if the growth hormones are released a little amount, we can say hypo. When growth hormones are released too much, excess amount, so you will be seeing this kind of growth. So that we call it as gigantism. What is that? Gigantism. So when the growth hormones are released excess, what happens to the growth? That kind of deficiency we call it as gigantism. So you have seen this is 8 feet tall person standing over here. So this person name we call it as Sultan. Okay. So when growth hormone it is little amount, normal, compared to normal it is released little amount. So we call it as dwarfism. Okay, we call it as dwarfism. So see, there is a very cute name, Ping Bing. Okay, so he is 2 feet tall, 5.37 in inch. Okay, this is dwarfism and this is gigantism. Okay, this is the difference. Yes. So stimulates the growth and development of the body. I already explained about this. Dwarfism, deficiency of GH growth in a child. So in deficiency of GH hormones, what happens? You have seen that example, right, in ping bing. And gigantism, overproduction of GH in the childhood. If the growth hormones are increasing, they are secreted more and more amount. So what you can see, there is a changes in like gigantism, just like Sultan. Got it? You're clear about it? Yes. So we'll be discussing about a thyroid gland. So what thyroid gland do? So thyroid gland secretes a thyroxine. Okay, what they do? They secrete thyroxine. Okay, so what exactly thyroxine do? What's it do? It controls metabolic activities of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Okay, so example, if the activity is not going on, all the fat molecules will be stored in your body, right? So what happens? You will be gaining the weight and you will become a fat. Okay, so as it is, if the thyroxine is not secreted properly in your body, of course you will be seeing the changes in your body, right? So to balance your diet, so iodine is very important, my dear kids. Ma'am, where is iodine? You can see, ma'am, you can see this iodine in the salt. Now you have to go immediately and check it in your kitchen. Is there any iodide salt mentioned in the packet of the salt? If it is mentioned, then you are safe, my dear kids. Okay, so like I think you have seen advertisement, I guess, right? Aapki toothpaste mein namak hai, right? Exactly. Now you have to start a new one. Okay, aapki salt mein iodine hai, as it is. See, iodine is very much important for your thyroid. Okay, so for example, if the thyroid is not having iodine proper, okay, so what happens here? You can see here, the neck is swollen. So your neck will be swollen like hell, okay, and you can see the big swollen neck here, and that kind of symptom we call it as goiter. What is that? So we call it as goiter. So there is a deficiency of iodine, then the neck will be swollen. Okay, so deficiency of what? Iodine, it causes goiter, and swollen neck is a main symptom. Okay, so these are the main things you have to remember, and we'll move on to the next. So now you are going to study about the pancreas. Okay, so where exactly pancreas are located? Wait. Okay, so where exactly pancreas are located? So now you can see. So pancreas, see my dear kids, this is pancreas which is located below the stomach. Okay, so this is a pancreas. See, in pancreas, which can act as both endocrine as well as exocrine, which can act as what? Both so which can act as both endocrine as well as endocrine and exocrine. So what exactly endocrine? I already explained you. Endocrine means what? They secrete hormones. They secrete hormones. Exocrine means from pancreas you can see they release what? Pancreatic juice. Juices like trypsin. Okay, they release like trypsin. Okay, everything is fine, but even pancreas is also called as endocrine gland. Endocrine gland, also called as endocrine gland. Okay, so now we will be studying about pancreas in deep. So in endocrine, in pancreas there are two types of cells. Okay, I'll be writing here. Okay, so in pancreas we will be having two types of cells. One is one is alpha cells and beta cells. It's also denoted as like this, and it is also denoted as alpha. So what this alpha cells do and what beta cells do? So they control, what they do? They decrease they decrease blood glucose level in our body. What they do, they decrease blood glucose level in our body, that means blood. So they decrease blood glucose level in our blood. Oh my god, ma'am, they are decreasing blood glucose level, and what happens there? Then who will increase our blood glucose level? So there is Superman called as alpha cells, okay? They are coming here and they are what they are making here? They increase blood glucose level in blood. Okay? Yes. So alpha cells, what they do? They increase a blood sugar level in the blood, and what happens? They decrease. They are all controlling everything. Okay? So if you have a deficiency of what? Insulin. So even beta cells, they are secreting what? Insulin. They are secreting insulin. Who is secreting insulin? Insulin is secreted by beta cells, and alpha cells are secreting what? They are secreting glycagon. Here I can write. Glycagon. Sorry to make this, I am congesting here. Okay, so they are secreting glycagon, and beta cells are they are producing insulin. Okay, yes. So my dear kids, okay, they are regulates the blood sugar level. I have discussed you. Deficiency of insulin causes diabetes. Of course, if you have a deficiency of insulin, if you have a lacking insulin in your blood, of course you will be having a diabetes. Sugar level increases. So such patients are called as insulin. Such patients are given by insulin injection. So you have seen some kids are suffering with diabetes. Not only kids, it is carrying out from children to till grandparents. Okay, and in your home you will be finding grandparents are suffering from sugar, so diabetes. So what they do, they take insulin injections. They take insulin injections. They can take near the, see where exactly pancreas are located here, right? So they have to take it here. Sometimes they have to take here, whichever, that is fine. So this is the right place to take. So this is all about the pancreas and their functions and how they are secreting, how they are controlling and everything. Okay, I hope you all are clear with this concept. Okay, we'll discuss about gonads. So now we are going to study about gonads. So what is this gonads? They are reproductive organs. Okay, they are reproductive organs. In reproductive organs, you will be having one is, okay, so in reproductive organs, you will be having a pair of, so in male and a female. In male, we can denote it as a sign like this, and a female, we can denote it as like this. So in male, you can see a pair of testes. So pair of testes, okay, and in case of females you can see a pair of ovaries. Pair of ovaries. So these are pair of testes, okay, these are testes my dear kids, and these are pair of ovaries. So what these testes do? They secrete testosterone. What they do, they release testosterone, and what this pair of ovaries they do, they release estrogen and a progesterone. They release estrogen and progesterone. So when you reach to puberty, you can see the changes in your body. In males, we can see there will be a growth of mustache and beard, and there will be slight changes in the voice as well as it will reach to the male voice. It will be very much bold, and you can changes in your body and everything. Coming to the female, so after releasing of estrogen, so what happens to the female girl? You will be seeing the enlargement of the breast, okay, and the body structure will be changing. You will be getting a proper shape. So these all the things happens in the female body, and when the progesterone is secreted, it is secreted in the ovaries. When when a lady reaches to the pregnant. Okay, so progesterone is released during the pregnancy time. Okay, yeah. So changes during the puberty, development of male sex organs and behavior also. Coming to ovaries, changes during the puberty, development of the female sex organs and regulates the menstrual cycle. Of course, when you reach the puberty stage, you will be seeing a menstrual cycle as well as. Okay, yeah, this is all about the gonads and this is all of the endocrine glands. And coming to the adrenal gland, we are going to study about that. Okay, what exactly adrenal gland do? So they secrete adrenaline. What they do, they secrete adrenal gland releases adrenal gland. I think yes. So what exactly adrenal gland do? Okay, we'll study about adrenal gland now. Have you ever eat? So will I start? Yes. So I know that you people like a samosa. I know kids, you all like samosas, right? So just like a samosa, adrenal glands also relates here. So I know all of you like a samosas. So just like that, samosas, this is a kidney. Here. So adrenaline. So what this adrenaline is, they releases adrenaline. For what purpose? See, example. I know what is that? I can say. Now we will be talking about adrenal gland. Okay. Adrenal gland. So my dear kids, have you ever come across with a dog is chasing behind you? Have you ever come across with that? So when you are running, okay, when dog is chasing behind, just you have to run fast like that. Okay, so what happens? Your heartbeat will be raising, so your breathing will be increasing and you will be start sweating as well as, right? Exactly. So when a dog is chasing you behind, that is emergency situation. You have to do it. You have to run, because otherwise dog will come and bite you, right? As it is. So what adrenaline will do? So it is secreted by adrenal gland. Okay, so it is secreted by adrenal gland. So what they do, they prepare a body to cope with emergency situation. So what they do, they make a body to, so you are okay, you have to cope with this emergency situation. So what happens with that? Cope with the emergency situation, examples, scary animals, such as I told you the same examples. What happens there? So heart beats faster. So what happens here? My heartbeat is raising. See? Just like that. So heartbeat is faster and supply more oxygen to the muscles. So in emergency situation, what happens here? More oxygen is supplying, okay, to the muscles, okay, to cope with the situation. So coming to the blood, to the digestive system and skin to reduce bite. So what happens here? So your heartbeat increases and you will start sweating like hell. And what happens? The contraction of the muscles around the small arteries in those of the organs, and this diverts the blood to skeleton muscles. What happens here? So okay, blood is pumped, muscles are contracted, and heart pumping is also increased. All the changes takes place here, right? So breathing rate increases. Even your breathing rate is also increasing. Okay, so due to the contraction of diaphragm and rib muscles. I have discussed in your previous classes what is diaphragm and what is rib muscles and everything. So suddenly all the changes happens in our body. Okay. Yeah, this response prepare the body to deal with the situation of fighting and running. So these are the things how the adrenal gland help to cope up with the emergency situations. So my dear kids, I know you all like samosas, right? How samosa looks exactly? It looks like a triangle. Am I correct? Yes. So what is this? This is a kidney, my dear kids. Okay, so on kidney you can see a triangle shape. Okay, looks like samosa. So that is called as adrenal gland. What it is? Adrenal gland. So this is all about the endocrine glands. We have discussed everything here. Okay, coming to the question, which of the following acts as both endocrine and exocrine? Just think about it. Adrenal, pituitary, ovaries and pancreas. Which is the answer? Just think. I'll give you 5 seconds. Yes, it's a pancreas. so which acts as both endocrine and exocrine. Okay. Name the hormone secreted by the pancreas which regulates blood sugar level. So, which regulates a blood sugar level. I told you, which is that hormone which regulates a blood sugar level? It's none other than insulin. I already explained this, right? So, how this insulin is secreted by which cells? Beta cells. I'm right? Beta cells. Okay? Are you clear about this, kids? Yeah, we'll move on to the next. So, what happens if the blood sugar level increases? What happens if the blood sugar level increases? I told you. So if the blood sugar is So what happens if the blood sugar level increases? See, if it is a blood sugar, if it is a sugar related things, it's always related to which gland? Pancreas. That means it detects by the cells of the liver? No way. Liver doesn't do anything. It is not related to the liver itself. I mean, oh fuck. So coming to the next question, what happens if the blood sugar level increases? So what happens if the blood sugar increases? So when the blood sugar increases, so what happens here? It's always related to the which gland? We have studied about the pancreas, right? It's always related to the pancreas. So we'll see the options. It is detected by the cells of the liver. Is that true, my dear kids? No. It is not detected by the livers. So it detected by the cells of the pancreas. I told you, it is always related to the pancreas, right? So the option is B. We will look after this two more options here. It is detected by the cells of the adrenal gland. No way. Adrenal gland is not related with the sugar. It is detected by the cells of the heart. Never. Okay? Fine? Yeah, we'll move on to the next. What condition is caused by iodine deficiency resulting in a swollen neck? I told you, if the neck is swollen, what kind of symptom is this? If this neck is swollen, what kind of symptoms we can see here? Of course, it's none other than goiter. Nor arthritis, diabetes, no. Anemia, no. So goiter, right? Exactly. So I hope you are clear with these concepts and you are able to solve the questions, right? Yeah. So here we have completed control and coordination in animals. Finally we have, okay. Okay. So finally we have completed a control and coordination in So finally we have completed control and coordination in animals. Okay. So I'll give you 5 seconds. Just think about it. Do plants possess nerves? Just think it. No. Exactly. So plants do not possess nerve system, nor brain, nor a spinal cord. Then how does control and coordination in plants happens here? Yes. There are two main things in control and coordination. One is movement and one more is hormone. Okay, I'll give an example. Have you heard about a touch me not plant? Even you people, I think, yes. So have you heard about a touch me not plant? Yes. So even you will call it as what? A shy plant. So when you touch the leaves of the plant, automatically what happened there? It will close, right? Same thing here. So this is the touch me not plant. So when you touch, okay? So when you touch, automatically this leaves will get closes. Why it is happening? So the touch is nothing but what? Stimulus, sense. Okay. So when you touch the plant, the leaves get closes, means they will shrink. So when you touch this plant, what happens here? They will respond it back, right? So what happens immediately? They will close. What they will close? They will close all the leaflets. Okay. So these are the leaves. They will just close like this. Okay. So why this is happening? There is no nervous system. There is no brain. There is no spinal cord. Then how they are responding it? We have a big question, ma'am. How they are responding? Exactly. See, there are two kinds of how this kind of movement is happening. See, there are kind of chemicals are present here, so they are responding it back. So what are that? There is electrochemical signals. Okay, electrochemical signals are sending to the plant so that they will respond it back. Okay, so this is a leaf. Okay, I will touch immediately. What happened to this leaves? They will close and they'll respond it back. Okay, they respond in, what is the response they are giving? The closing of leaflets. Okay, the closing of leaflets. So that is called a response of these plants. So by which help of what? Which is that helping them to close the leaflets? That nothing but what? Electrochemical signals. Because with the help of this, they are closing the leaflets. Okay, so plants have no nervous systems or muscles, but they can respond to stimuli. Of course, like animals, plants show two types of movements. Okay, so I told you with the help of the movements, a plant shows two types of movements. One is dependent on growth. They dependent growth and independent growth. Okay, so dependent on growth means when a seed sometimes, for example, just imagine there is a seed here. They have to germinate and even the stem have to be grown. So there are certain kind of growths which hormones helps to grow this kind of parts. Okay, we'll be discussing that later. Not only root goes down and up and stem comes up. So we will be discussing up in later. So independent of the growth. So when we touch the leaves, so when you touch the leaves, what happens here? Chewy mui. Means chewy mui is nothing but what? Touch me not plant. So sensitive or touch me not or a Mimosa pudica. Which is the scientific name of a touch me not plant is called Mimosa pudica. So Mimosa pudica is the scientific name of this touch me not plant. They quickly fold up their leaves. Okay, I just told you before, right? Same thing. So when you're coming into Mimosa pudica's plant, the sensitive plant, this is a sensitive plant, I told you. The movement happens at the point different from the point of touch. It means information about to touch is communicated. Plants use electrochemical means to touch and conduct information from the cell to cell. So my dear kids, listen. Okay, so you touch here. What happens here? The movement happens. What happens here? First movement takes place. Okay, so we touch, the stimulus is gone. Okay, stimulus, it is reached there, and it means that information about the touch is communicated. So here the touch is communicated here. This is the leaf, and the touch is nothing but communication here over here. So when you touch, that is a communication over the leaf. So that communication will reach to there, where it will reach to their leaflets with which kind of signals? Electrochemical signals. Okay, I already discussed about it. Electrochemical signals conducted information from cell to cell. There are certain cells present in the leaf. They communicate each other and they will respond it back. Okay, that's the thing. In animals, muscles, proteins helps to change the shape of the cell. So muscles are helping here, but in case of plants, it is happening like this. Okay, but plant cells change the shape, swelling and shrinking by changing amount of water in the stem. So we have studied in a previous chapter about the stomata, right? Same thing, that is also called as a movement. Okay, understand? Yeah. So coming to movements due to growth. So my dear kids, for example, you have a flower pot in your home. Okay, so you place the flower. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. So coming to the movement due to growth, so some plants, they don't have a growth when the movement is happening. So just like touch me not plant, as it is, we can see here. So some plants, okay, some plants like pea has a tendrils. Okay, so they will be having a tendrils. What do you mean by tendrils here? See, you can see your tendrils, right? The extra part for the supporting purpose. Okay, these are the tendrils. So to climb up for the fence, so they have to climb up for the fence, and they have to give a support to the plant. Because of that reason, they are climbing up. So they are sensitive to touch, they are very sensitive to the touch. Okay, just like when you touch it, so whenever the touch, for example, this is a stick, okay, and this is the plant. So when the plants get any support, automatically they will move towards the supportive side of the thing. Okay, same thing, when tendrils contact with the support, the touching part does not grow. They need only support, not a growth. See, listen, the main thing here in the movement, you will not be able to see the growth. You will be see the movement here. Only movement will be able to see here. Okay, as rapidly as a growth away from the object. So tendrils circulate around the clings and to the object. So they will circulate around the thing and they grow. I mean, they move on. So, but growth is not happening. They need a support. Okay. Plants respond to the stimuli slowly by growing in direction because of the directional growth to its appear as a plant is moving. Okay. So plants respond to the stimuli. Of course, they are responding to the stimuli slowly by growing in direction. By slowly. See that growing part. We see that growing thing. We call it as stimuli. In tendrils, we call it as that growing thing. We call it as response. Okay. Growing in directional. Slowly growing in directional because of the directional growth in appears as a plant is moving. So what we think, okay, something growth is happening, but actually the growth is not happening. Okay, so now we will study about tropic movements. Okay, movement is done. See, in movement what exactly happens here? Okay, in a movement you will be seeing only response but not growth. Understand? So touch me not plant, when you touch, there are some electrical signals will be passed on and they will respond it back, right? What is the response? The closing of leaflets. So that is called a movement but no growth. That's all about the movement. Okay, you're clear about it? For example, you can see what is that? Yes, picture plant, they trap. Okay, movement is happening but growth is not happening. Venus plant, even that is also even the best example for the picture plant. So these are the things, only the movements are happening but growth is not happening. Okay, coming to the tropical movement. Okay, coming to the tropic movements. So there are phototropism, geotropism, hydrotropism and chemotropism. So ma'am, what is this tropic movement? Yes, so tropic movement, you will be able to see the growth in the plant. For example, you have a pot in your home, okay, plant. So you have placed that near the sun, I mean near to the window. Okay, so what happens here? So if you place a pot near to the window, of course which direction they move, plant will move towards the direction of sun. So why it is happening? Why they are moving into the direction of the sunlight? Because they need a source. Of course I know, but what it is called? Because see, when the plant is moving towards the sunlight, the movement they are showing towards the sunlight is called as phototropism. See, just like this, you're placing the pot here and the movement is going towards the sunlight. They are responding to the sun. The movement is like movement itself towards the sunlight. So it is called as phototropism. Okay, yeah. So coming to geotropism, what is this geotropism? Geo is nothing but what? Earth. Okay, So this is a plant. Sorry. So this is the plant. These are roots. So plants are moving into the what? Sun. So that is positive. And when the roots are moving towards the earth, that is towards the gravitational. So gravity is, and we'll go to the we don't want to go to physics now. Just remember gravity. What is gravity? Which is situated in the earth, which pulls all the things. They attract the things. So coming to the types of tropic movements. So in what is exactly the tropic movements? So in this tropic movements, you can see both movement as well as growth. Okay. So for example, just imagine you have a pot in your home. Okay. So you have placed near the window. Okay. So after 2 days, what you will see? The leaves, the stem, everything is growing towards the sun. Right. So growing towards the sun means they are moving towards the sun. That means they need energy source called as sun. That is another thing. So this kind of movement we call it as phototropism. The plants which is responding to the sun. Okay, sunlight is falling on them. They are responding it back. They are going towards the sun, and the growth is also happening. So that is called as phototropism. Okay, phototropism. So coming to geotropism. What is this geotropism? Means geo is nothing but what? Earth. So they growing towards the earth. That means, so this is the plant. Okay. Yes. So the roots are moving towards the gravity. They are moving towards the gravity. That means negative geotropism. And the plants moving towards the sun, that is called as positive geotropism. Okay, that means the plants, the movement is happening upward and downward. Shoot is responding to the sun and root is responding to the gravity. Okay, what is this gravity, ma'am? See, gravity is nothing but which is inside our earth. It is placed in the center of earth, which pulls all the things. That means you can say it is which attracts everything. It should be in a balanced. Okay, so what they do, they pull, they run, they grow towards the gravity. They call it as negative geotropism, and totally we can say the growth is happening. The growth is taking place with the help of what? The movements, sun and the gravity. So we call it as geotropism. Okay, coming to hydrotropism. So okay, this is a plant. Okay, this is a plant. So somewhere in the root, somewhere in the soil, you will be having a water content here. So what happens here? Sorry. So what happens here? You can see the movement. You can see the movement towards what? Water. That means they are responding to the water. So they are going towards the water. Means that is also kind of stimulus. Okay, they are going to, that means they are going towards the water, that they are getting a stimulus from the water. So the growth will be in a water side. So this kind of tropism, we call it as hydrotropism. The movement towards the water. The plants which are responding towards the water, they are called as hydrotropism. Okay, coming to chemotropism, the plants which have responded to the chemicals. For example, pollen tube. These things we will be studying in the next chapter. Okay, how do organisms reproduce? So we will be discussing everything, but we don't want to go deeply in the things here. Okay, yeah. So in pollen tube, there are certain chemicals that respond to the growth. For example, a pollen grain, they have to respond it back, right, with the help of the chemicals. The growth is taking place with the help of what? Chemicals. We call it as chemotropism. Okay, this is all about the types of tropic movements. Okay, so I already told. So it is the tropic movement. Okay, it is a tropic movement. Is response to light, which is response to light, which is responding to what? It is responding to light. I already explained you, they are responding towards the sunlight. So even shoot respond by bending towards the light. They are bending towards the light. Okay, the shoot is bending towards the light. That is called positive. Okay, and root responded by bending away from the light or negative. So these are the roots, my dear kids. They are what they are doing? They are bending away from the sun. They are not bending towards the sun. They are bending away from the sun. So that is called as negative. Okay. So that what I have discussed previously. Coming to a small activity I have given you, I have already explained with giving an example. A small pot you have placed in a near the window. See, we can see. So it can be provided for. Okay. Yeah. Fill a conical. Sorry. Yes. So fill a conical flask with the water. Okay. You take a conical flask and fill it with water. Okay, and cover it with a neck with a wire mesh having a 2 to 3 freshly germinated bean seeds. Okay, you take water in a pot. Okay, flask. Fill the flask with the water, and then cover it with a wire mesh and having 2 to fresh germinated bean seeds will germinated seeds. So just like this, my dear kids. Okay, keep the flask in a cardboard such as So geotropism, I already told you that the movement is response to the pull of earth or gravity. So the movement is happening towards the gravity, right? Towards where? Gravity. Okay, so the movement is responding towards the gravity. I mean, we can say pull of earth or a gravity. So roots always grow downwards, positive. Okay, so root always grow towards earth is called as positive. Okay, so previously I have told it is negative, just to make it correction there. So it is not negative, it is a positive geotropism. Okay, yes, should grow upwards and away from the earth. See, my dear kids, geo is nothing but what? Earth. The root which is growing towards the earth, it is called as positive geotropism, and the shoot is growing away from the what? Away from the earth, that is called negative geotropism. Understood? Yes, the shoot which is growing away from the earth, that is called as negative geotropism. So this is a perfect example. It is growing away from the earth, and this roots are growing towards the earth, that is called positive geotropism. Okay, yes. So coming to hydrotropism and chemotropism. So I already explained you the germination takes place in a pollen tube. I'll explain you everything. Okay, hydrotropism, the movement of plant towards or away from earth. Okay, I told you hydrotropism is nothing but what? Hydro, water. Hydro is nothing but what? Water. The movement of plant towards or away from the earth. So okay, so the movement of plant, this is the movement of plant. You can see here, the movement of root is taking towards where? Water. So this is also called as what? Positive. We can say positive hydrotropism. Okay, and the shoot is moving away from the water, so it is also called as negative hydrotropism. For example, root bend towards the moist soil. They are bending towards the moist soil. Okay, coming to chemoautotropism, the movement of the plant towards or away from the chemicals. Okay, see, I told you in a hibiscus flower, when you take that pollen tube, I mean pollen grain, I'm sorry. Okay, so the movement of plants towards or away from chemicals. So when you take a female reproductive structure of a plant, okay, you will be having a certain chemical, the growth of the pollen grain. Okay, this is the pollen grain. The pollen grains come towards the pollen tube and it goes inside the inside the ovule. So how it is happening? Because of chemicals, my dear kids. So because of the chemicals, they are responding it, the growth is taking place. Okay, the movement of plants towards or away from the chemicals. Example, growth of a pollen tube towards an ovule. So this is the growth of the pollen tube, this is the pollen tube, and this is a pollen tube which is growing towards the ovule. Okay, that's an example of the chemotropism. So coming to controlled movements, can be either slow or fast. So sometimes it might be slow, sometimes it might be fast. For example, coming to slow movements, we can take best example is sunflower. Okay, sunflower you have seen, they are always bending towards the sun. Whenever the sun comes, they will be like active. Whenever the sun goes, they will be like this. Same thing. Sensitive plants quickly move in the response to touch. Sensitive plants quickly move to the, for example, not exam, I have told you, my mimosa pudica is nothing but touch me not plant, and for your words I can take shy plant, right? Exactly. So sunflower also slows, so coming to plant growth promoters. So I'll give an example. So this is a plant, and this is the shoot, and this is the sun. During phototropism, what's happening there? So they are the movement of the shoot towards towards where? Towards sun, and the shoot is bending towards the sun. The bending part who is helping there is certain hormones which is helping in the bending of the shoot towards the sun. So that hormone we call it as auxins. Very simple. I'm right. Very simple to understand. Okay. In NCERT they have given a small a para regarding the hormones, but if you study like this, then only you'll be able to understand. Okay. Yes. So coming to plant hormones can coordinate a growth, development and response to the environment. They are also synthesized at the same place and diffuses to their area of affection. So for example, plant hormones includes growth promoters, auxins, gibberellins, cytokinin, and a growth inhibitor called abscisic acid, which is also called as ABA. Okay, abscisic acid. So you understood what is the function of auxin? They help in bending of shoot towards the sunlight. That's all. Okay. So coming to gibberellins, we'll study about it. Yeah. Same thing I have explained you. See, regulates the growth in plants when the plants detach a light. Okay. Auxin synthesized at the shoot tip and helps the cells to grow longer when the light is coming from one side of the plant. Auxins diffuses towards the shade side of the shoot. As a result, cells on the shade side grow longer, thus a plant's bend towards the sunlight. It's very simple. Just now I explained you, they are bending towards the sunlight. That bending part of the shoot, who is helping there? Auxin is helping. Okay. Yeah. Coming to gibberellins. So what is this gibberellins, ma'am? So the gibberellins which helps in growth of the stem. Okay. So this is first stage of the plant. They are germinating. Okay. They are germinated. The shoot have to grow and root also have to grow. But the growth of the stem. Okay. The growth of the stem, who is helping? Gibberellins are helping. Okay. Very easy. Cytokinin. What is cytokinin? Cyto means what? Cytoplasm. So where the cytoplasm is present? In the cell. So when cell have to divide, cytoplasm have to divide and they have to get into two different cells. Right? Yes. So same thing. Kinesis means what? Dividing cells. I mean the division of the cells. Kinin means what? Dividing. Cyto means what? Cytoplasm. Cyto means what? Cytoplasm. Okay. Promote a cell division. I told you. Cyto means what? Cytoplasm. Kinin, division. Okay. Promote a cell division. They are mostly present in area of rapid cell division. They are involved in a rapid cell. Even see, coming to the root. Okay, this is the root, my dear kids. Okay. In root, there are certain cells. Okay. Mature cells and everything that you will be studying in higher classes for the gland. So there are certain cells here in the root caps as well as Okay, so there are certain cells, there will be a rapid division takes place for the growth. So that time what happens here, cytokinase is also helping over there. Present areas of rapid cell division and such as the fruit and seeds. So they are all they are mostly present in areas of rapid cell division. Okay, in root they may be present in a root and shoot, and wherever the division have to take place they will be present. So cytokine is very important there, such as the fruit and seeds. So in fruits and seeds you will be able to see these things. Okay, abscisic acid, what is this abscisic? We can also call it as ABA, abscisic acid. So inhibit the growth and causing the wilting of leaves. So my dear kids, okay, so coming to abscisic acid, it is also called as ABA. Okay, so in abscisic acid what you will see, okay, for example, so plant growth is done, everything has happened. So what happened here, so plant will start falling down. Okay, once it got aged, they what happens there, they will be fall down. So who is making to fall down? Abscisic acid. So inhibit the growth, they stop the growth. Okay, your work is done, now you have to move away, right? So now you have to move. Just who is this inhibitor? Abscisic acid is a inhibitor, one who stops the growth of the plant or a fruit or any other thing. Okay, yes, causing wilting of leaves. So sometimes what happens to the leaves, they will fold themselves. Okay, when it gets see from green to what happens to it, so inhibition of the growth, so all the leaves will fall down and wilting of leaves also will happen here. So these are the things takes place in abscisic acid. Okay, yeah, so coming to one more hormone called ethylene. So what is this ethylene? Which helps in ripening of fruit. So ethylene is a hormone which helps in ripening of fruit. So for example, okay, you will be eating a mango which is ripened mango, right? So how this ripening is happening? With the help of what hormone? Ethylene hormone. Because of that reason you will be able to eat very sweet mangoes which is very tasty and juicy, right? That's because of what? Which hormone? Ethylene hormone. Okay, yes. So this is all about so coming to a question, what is the main function of gibberellins? I already explained you what is the main function of gibberellins. Gibber means what? It involves in growth of stem. So I told you before. So which is the hormone which is helping in growth of the stem? That is none other than gibberellin. We'll see the options. The development of flowers. No, they are not involving in the development of flowers. The formation of seeds. No. And the growth of the stem. Yeah, the C is the option. The growth of the stem. So who is helping here for the growth of the stem? Gibberellins. The development of the root system. Nana. Okay, coming to the next question. Root of plants are. So root of plants. So this is the root. Okay. So what they are asking? Positively geotropism, positively phototropism, negatively geotropism, none of this. So plants, they are moving towards where? They are moving towards gravity. That means positive geotropism. I told you in geotropism. So whenever the root topic, if you get, okay, root, if it is like plant, we can say negative phototropism, but the option is not there. Okay, so it is always positive to geotropism. The plants are moving towards the gravity is called as a positive geotropism. If the shoot is moving away from the earth, we call it as negative geotropism. So that's all. The control and coordination is finally ended, and you'll be like, oh my god, ma'am, finally ended. Oh, like that, right? So if you have any doubts related to the questions, related to the topics, you can comment me in the comment box so that I can answer all the questions. Okay, thank you.